That is a 2005 Ssangyong Musso turbo diesel. And we're going to review it here today on Project 33. Stay tuned.
On Zombie Apocalypse.
The mighty Ssangyong Musso. I remember when these first came out in the mid-90s. And they didn't come out in ute form like this. No, they came out with the standard, four-wheel drive wagon type thing. And they competed with, they aimed for the four-wheel drive market alongside the Pajeros and the Pathfinders and what else was there? The Jeeps, JKs, and just the mid-size four-wheel drive market. And they actually made a foothold. They actually got a foothold in the mid-90s. They actually sold quite well. They didn't come to. I'll turn this off. Turn the copyright off. Yeah, and they didn't come to the market half cocked. I mean, they actually put together quite a good car. The competitors didn't have half the things that this has. The marketing department actually did quite a good job. The engineering department. This is an engineer's car. I'll explain that later. But yeah, they put together quite a good car. It's very solid, very reliable, even to this day. They came to Australia and they had a decent ad. I mean, the ad at the time was pretty catchy. It was an Asian car with the heart of a Mercedes. That sort of went against them a little bit because at the time, mid-90s Mercedes pretty well sucked. But then again, that was just a thing of all 90s cars, really. If you're a car in the 90s, you sucked. This was no exception to it, but the marketing department actually did quite well. The catchphrase, an Asian car with Mercedes engine, with the heart of a German, actually worked. There were still Mercedes fanboys out there. So, and they targeted everybody that would have bought a Pajero or a Pathfinder or a Pajero, or something along that lines anyway. So they actually did get a foothold in the country, and the features that it came out with was actually quite impressive. I mean, these things come out to Australia with heated seats, auto-locking hubs, rain sensing wipers. That was some big bloody tech back in the mid-90s. I mean, Fairlanes and Statesmans didn't have that. Here comes this Korean car, and it came with a turbo diesel. That was also pretty decent, because not many cars. Upmarket cars had turbo diesels. What this competed against, this was competing against the mid-spec models, and it had some high-spec options. And the car itself was actually pretty well put together. I mean, even now, 15 years later, you wash it up and it looks brand new. And they put the paint together pretty damn well. And the body's put together absolutely spectacular as well. I mean, 15 years later, there's still no rattles or no niggles or no jiggles or no bad noises of any kind, really. So they did actually put together a very, very nice car. The only thing is they didn't continue with it. They didn't continue to evolve it. They just rested on their laurels and said, yes, we will continue to sell this car. And in fact, the car I'm driving right now, the Ute version, is the update. So let's turn this wagon into a Ute. That's what they've done. That's all they've done. And the power went from 80 kilowatts to 90 kilowatts. Ooh. But there are a lot of things to like about this car, about the Ssangyong. The build quality is right up there. It is really good. And it drives so bloody smoothly. I mean, it's like it's got lane assist control on it at all times, because you take your hands off the wheel and it just drives as straight as an arrow all the time. You don't have to do much to keep this thing straight. It doesn't wander, it doesn't bloody, go all over the road like some other 90s cars. Look. And I'm driving as straight as I can. It just doesn't do, it just keeps going straight. The only thing I don't like about it, the main thing I don't like about it, is the lack of power. I mean, 90 kilowatts. We're coming to a hill now, and come on, let's go, come on. Come on, you can do it. There we go. It's supposed to be a turbo diesel, but it's got one of the smallest turbos known to man. It's a GT25C, and that's, it's meant for like a 1.6 litre bloody car. It's not a 3 litre turbo diesel. 3 litre turbo. 3 litre. You know what I'm saying. The other thing to like about this is it's got torsion bar suspension on the front. That means you don't have to worry about shockings ever again. On the front at least. The engine in this, I did say it had the heart of a German. It does. It's got the Mercedes 5-cylinder, 2.9 litre 5-cylinder, which is one of the most produced engines in the history of the world, if not the most produced. This has been sort of contracted out to, well, many manufacturers. And Ssangyong just said, yep, I'll take that, and produced it. So, and they are reliable, but it is a Mercedes, so you've got to keep your keep the surfaces up to them to keep it reliable. This is no exception. You keep the surfaces up to this, and it will run around the world. There's no limit to the amount of Ks this will do, as long as you keep the surface up to it. Now, I did say this was an engineer's car. The engineers saw at the time what was reliable, and they said, yep, we'll take one of each and we'll put it in. This has the turbo diesel from a Mercedes, like I said. It's also got the 4-speed automatic from a Ford Falcon, the BTR. Of course, Ssangyong just made their own version of it, but at its core, it's a BTR 4-speed. And it also has the diffs out of a JK Jeep. So yeah, they bolt it all together. And while it might look good on paper, it just doesn't quite fit in the real world. I mean, the diffs are perfect, yes, but the the engine just doesn't quite agree with the gearbox. But on the Falcon, it's perfect. It's perfect. That's because this doesn't quite have the same torque curve as a great big bloody 4-litre inline 6-cylinder. Having said that, this is actually also quite deceptive in what it can do. I mean, it feels like it's struggling until you look down the speedo and you're doing 30 kilometres above the speed limit. So it is fairly deceptive. It's not, they don't quite stick together. Well, it just doesn't feel like it sticks together. But all that can be forgiven. That you get used to the car and all of a sudden you forgive it. Get used to the car and you just drive it. As long as you're not in a rush to get anywhere, guess what? You get there. This is not a, it's not a Land Cruiser. But then again, a Land Cruiser can't do what this can do. And that's, trying to park a Land Cruiser in a Woolies car park without being a precision driver. Or a part of a bloody stunt team. You can park this anywhere. The turn and circle on this is actually quite impressive. Now we're going to go into what I really hate about the Ssangyong Musso. And that is, number one, the power. It desperately needs more power, more boost. The second thing are these flaming cup holders. I mean, what the hell type of cups do they use in Korea, for crying out loud? For them to design them like that. They don't bloody hold anything. What were they thinking? You have to buy cup holder inserts to insert to the cup holder so you can insert your cup to hold your cup. Crying out loud. And the absolute worst thing I hate about the Ssangyong Musso is this friggin' gear selector. Like, this style was all the rage back in the 90s. Yeah, this is all the rage back in the 90s, just the jigsaw pattern. But if you need to select a different gear other than drive, it sucks. It really does suck. You have to complete a flaming slide puzzle before you can change gears. It might look good, but it sucks. It's form over function and I hate it. It's one of the very few times I say get the manual version. At least in the manual version you can't stuff it up. This, no, left, right, up, down, round and round and round. Oh, there's your gear right there. What gear am I in? Don't know. The engine power can be forgiven. I mean, it is what it is. It's just a 90s diesel engine. Whatever, but that gear selector, oh, I hate it. But other than the lack of power and those stupid bloody drink holders and that ridiculous bloody gear selector, there's not much to hate about the Ssangyong Musso. It drives perfect. Look at that. We're going straight ahead. Other cars will be wandering all over the damn road. You have to wrestle the damn thing. Not the Ssangyong, no. It wants to drive straight. It's just going around corners it hates. you do have to wrestle the thing around the corner. It is a four-wheel drive after all. But other than that, it will give you a smooth and compliant ride every time. Those Koreans really did put together a nice car. But they didn't evolve it. They said, yep, this will do. And we'll update them with a ute in 10 years. And by the time they started to update it, people had already moved on. I mean, Mitsubishi Pajero went through like 3 different facelifts. The Pathfinder went through a couple of different facelifts. The Jeep went through a couple of facelifts and it just got deleted. But yeah, they didn't do anything. They tried to bring out a new model, the Acteron, I think it was, but that was just really, really weird looking. It was just too far out. I remember saying that for the first time. I go, what the bleep, 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 bleep. What are they trying to do? I mean, I remember seeing the Musso for the first time. I thought, oh, yeah, it looks a bit weird, whatever. I think we'll go this way. Yeah, it was like, whatever. People bought it. And it does look better as a ute, I must say. But they didn't continue on with it. The Musso is still around today. I mean, it's got a brand spanking new model out. And I wouldn't mind test driving it actually, but by the time they started thinking about, revamping the Musso, people had moved on. People have moved on. And sales just fell off a cliff. And you still do see Mussos around to this day. They still have their niche. Still have their collectors, they still have their fanboys. I'm one of them now. I love this car. I love this thing. I want to do so much with it. I'm going to give it a boost. You can actually find, people to boost it, and you can find mods for it too. I mean, Jeep diffs. You can get front and rear lockers for this. You can also get adjustable air suspension for the rear. And you can find people to boost the turbo up for you too. You just go into a custom shop and say, can you boost up my Ssangyong Musso? Oh, I've never heard of a Ssangyong Musso. It's got a turbo in it. Turbo? They can't help themselves. They'll boost it up for you. I have heard of it done. So you can get mods for this. So I really, really want to, there's so much I want to do with it. It just feels so solid. It just feels like a really, really solid truck, car, whatever. Ute, there we go, we'll go with ute. And right now I don't feel like I need to be anywhere in a hurry. I mean, if I was in my Falcon right now, I'd be booting the shit out of it, feeling that torque getting thrust back in the seat. But this, I don't feel like going anywhere in a hurry. And as long as you're not, expecting too much out of it, this will make you happy, I'm not expecting too much out of it. It's nice, quiet, solid. Yeah, I like this. suppose we have to talk about parts for the Ssangyong Musso. Now you'd think that because this engine is one of the most produced engines on the face of the planet, finding parts would be easy. Not in Australia. I spent 2 weeks looking for a sensor. It had to come from America, of all places. Then I had to rebuild the turbo. And that had to come from England. Then I had to wait 2 weeks for some glow plugs to arrive because I replaced the glow plugs. And then I had to con a fitter into helping me and paying a lot of money to do so. Because, of course, you know, Germans don't use proper tools. They have to invent their own bloody tools and have you buy them. When things break down, and everything breaks down, mind you, this is a pain in the ass. But, like I said, you keep the service up to it, and you'll very, very rarely have that problem. This thing is a service hog. It loves a service. Being a Mercedes, you know, you got to service it. It's not a Land Cruiser or a Hilux. You can't just, you know, service it every 15 years and it just runs. But other than that, I love this. I could get used to the lack of power. I could probably also get used to this stupid bloody shifter. And I looked on eBay and there's inserts that you can get to put in these stupid bloody cup holders so you can actually have a cup holder. I'll show you what I mean about this stupid bloody... Oh, there we go. That took more effort than it had to be. What gear am I in now? Second. What gear am I in now? Don't know. I'm in drive, okay. So, that's a stupid bloody thing. Of course they had to go fancy, didn't they? And so, that's the Ssangyong Musso. It's for the time it was a great car, but as you saw, Ssangyong just didn't keep up with it. You know, they just rested on their laurels, and it just didn't stand this test of time, really. Yeah, really, truly, it is a nice car. I mean, for the time, it was pretty pretty well loaded for the time. To this day, it's a very nice car to drive, and you're not, as long as you're not in a rush, you're not going to be disappointed for it. As long as you're not trying to outrun the highway patrol, again, you're not going to be disappointed. As long as you're not trying to go up any hills, you won't be disappointed with it. For what it is really a nice car. It really is a nice car to drive. The only problems with it is it's not a Hilux, but nothing really is other than another Hilux. But it really is, this one has stood the test of time. And as long as you're not trying to do anything too stupid or accelerate too hard or tow anything too big, this will get you around. You will be pleasantly surprised by this. Anyway, that was the Ssangyong Musso. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to my channel.